Hi, I'm Simon Rushton and this is Taxi Chronicles podcast. On this podcast, we spontaneously interview unsuspecting passengers with their permission, allowing them to share their intimate life stories and concerns. As our slogan states, real riders, real stories. Some riders prefer to be anonymous, while others ask me to tell their story later on. Either way, there are all genuine 5 to 10 minutes stories, so sit back and enjoy this episode. Morning. Yes, it's Taxi Chronicles. We're back. Got 3 lovely riders in the car. They're all blonde.
That is definitely true.
They've moved from one part of London to South London. And they've lived here, I don't know, how long you lived there for, ladies?
We've lived here since what, May? May.
So how have you found it? Is it a bit of a change? Is it to where you've come from?
I think, well, I don't know, from me personally, having come from London anyway, I think it's like maybe a nicer part of London than what I'm originally from. So I really enjoyed it, but I know like Shah, obviously you're not from London, so it might be a bit more of a change for you.
Yeah.
These guys lived in Canning Town before they moved to
is it?
South London.
You lived in Gypsy Town.
There are a lot of bad things that are said about East London, especially Canning Town.
I live in Stratford now.
Do you?
And I'll tell you one thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know how Canning Town used to be. I used to go down
That's what
there
my dad said. Apparently Canning Town was bad.
Yeah, it used to be, if you go down there, you have to be on your toes.
Yeah.
Even their boxing gym was really
but we always got treated well, to be fair. We never had any bad situations.
No.
What I just found weird about Canning Town, like when I visited you guys, was like it was just kind of a nothingness. Like there was lots of flats and stuff, and then there was like one co-op, and there was nothing really else
Right, but
around.
now, see all those new flats that have been built in the last 10 to 20 years? Imagine all of that's gone.
Yeah.
Now,
That's what my dad
and there's
said.
old industrial estates, and the lighting doesn't work, the street lighting's not on. Then you start to get a picture of what, you know.
Yeah.
You don't, it's not a part of town you
But
do want to
also
get caught
in Canning
down.
Town, you would go up one road, turn the corner, and that was old Canning Town, and it was back to the route to Canning Town, and it was.
Yeah. It's Canning Town, Silver Town,
Yeah.
all those places. You see all the travellers or pikers, whatever you want to call them.
You would literally go
down there.
around the corner and you would like see everything going on.
But it's like Stratford used to be the beginning of that. Because you think of the Olympic Village now, before that was all marshland and caravans.
Yeah. It was nothing.
It's nothing. And so the government's just looked at all this land and said, we can develop.
Yeah, well, it's like the same as Canary Wharf. So I used to work in Canary Wharf, and we did like a. So I used to work for a bank in Canary Wharf, and we did like a day of like exploring the history of the area, kind of thing. And like it's so crazy to me that it honestly used to be nothing at all, like other than canals and stuff.
Yeah.
And then now it's like one of the most invested in areas in the whole of the city, and it's like owned by Qataris. And prior to that whole situation having been built, there was no money there, and now there's like when you walk the streets of Canary Wharf, it's crazy to think how much money there is just in that area. And you go back like 20 years and it was basically a marshland.
It's taxpayers' money that paid for it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
and then they
in the
sell it off to
80s,
the Qataris.
in the 80s it was going to fail, and a Thatcher said it's too big to fail. Too much of an investment.
Well, that's a classic line though, isn't it? Too big to fail. That's never has good connotations attached to it.
Not for the tax man.
No. Never.
You see what I mean?
No, definitely.
Things like that. So you ladies strike me as ladies who've travelled the world. So where have you been? Have you had any adventures, any near-death experiences, or?
We definitely had adventures. We haven't had any near-death experiences.
Near-death experiences.
I don't feel like I'm a well-travelled person, but I've been to different places, like with work or with my friends, but like not. I haven't stayed in a lot of places. for a long period of time.
When we were in New York, we went to.
When we were in New York, we had the craziest time. So we basically decided like, oh, we'll go to New York for a couple of days, and we're like, we'll stay somewhere. We wanted to stay somewhere kind of authentically New York. We didn't want to go and like stay in Times Square or something like that. We were like, we're gonna get really like get in and see what it's really like. So we stayed in Harlem.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is getting interesting already. Go on, man. You stayed in Harlem. How long ago was this?
So this was in November of last year.
Okay.
So we get to the airport at 2 a.m. Maybe we land in JFK, and the guy is obviously taking you through. They're so strict on
Yeah, they're really they're really
immigration.
They're not nice.
No, they're not nice.
They're horrible.
They're like they don't want you to come to their country. Really.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Obviously, we're white, so they're like better to us.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Well, no, I mean,
And they would be.
he kind of gave us like, he was like, oh, so they take your address of where you're staying, how long you're going to be staying there, all that kind of stuff. And when we said we gave him the address of where we were staying, he said, you know, that's like north of Central Park. Like, he was like, that's not safe. Why are you staying there? Why are you staying there? And we were like, oh, well, you know, like we just decided this Airbnb. We thought it might be a cool area. Like we thought we'd give it a go. And he was like, you need to be very careful. Like blah blah. Gave us a full-on speech about like really
warning us.
Really
like,
warning us.
Be careful.
For the fear of
come
God.
home before 9 p.m.
Did you kind of regret?
Yeah.
Oh my God! In that
the
moment, we were like, what have we done?
Yeah.
Like we had no idea. And so we get there. Obviously, can't get into our Airbnb. We can't work out the key code thing. Emily's like standing in the street, like we should just go to the nearest hotel, like crying her eyes out. It was very scary.
So you're gonna be like, you ever see that movie Eddie Murphy Coming to America?
Yeah, I have seen
when the
that
luggage
movie.
and everyone's got their luggage, their luggage.
Honestly, we were standing out in the street. There were all these like blacked out vans coming past us. It was a bit scary. Like you're in a new place. It was 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It was all a bit creepy.
They'll pimp you, man.
Yeah, and then the next day, so we were like getting the subway home. We were like, we'll get the subway. Like we really want to live like New Yorkers. Like this is a good experience. We're getting the subway back, and then we get this like article. What news app was it? It was like some news app. We get this article, and it's like 1 road away from where our Airbnb was. No, it was man in Harlem beheads his wife and child, and then kills himself. And it was honestly it was 1 block away, it was on one street next to our street, and it was like he'd beheaded his wife and his child and left their heads on their toilet seats in their apartment.
Bloody
and we were already so freaked out.
Oh my God.
So we just sat on the subway and like cried for about 5 minutes.
So you made yourself as vulnerable as possible.
We got off the subway.
Yeah.
There were 2 men sat on, I don't know, they were out of their minds on some sort of drug, sat on the seats in the subway with both of them. Emily just walked straight past, and I was like, Emily, I just saw both of those men's penises. Like, they were just holding them in their hands. And I was like,
were they looking at each other, looking at you?
No, they were. I don't think they were looking at anything. No. I don't think they were in this world.
Zoned out.
Yeah, fully zoned out. So we get out of the subway. Someone starts offering us like, oh, you want $20 for this packet? And we were like, I didn't even ask, but I was like, what's in the packet? Like, you can't just offer someone a random packet of something and say like $20. So we quite literally didn't. Sprinted from the subway station to our apartment. We're not runners, and we ran. We ran for the hills, like to get back to this flat.
How long were you there for? In Harlem? 5 days?
Yeah.
So every day you was running from the station to the hotel?
But if I'm being completely honest, what we ended up doing was getting off like 2 stops before our subway station and getting an Uber.
To be fair, I've never seen something worse in my life though, is when I saw all these people on, must be like opioids, like
100%.
literally like hanging around the street, and there were so many of them.
It's massive crisis.
It's a massive crisis. And you know when you watch something like Louis through, and you see him go through, he does this like Route 66 or whatever of like Baltimore and all these places that are like rife with opioid addiction, and you think, wow, that's so sad, but you never think you would be faced with that situation. And we genuinely walked like from our apartment to the subway, and we went to a slightly different subway station than normal, and it was 9:30 in the morning, and there was over 20 people. I would say 20 to 50 people standing there in a state of absolute
Like a zombie.
basically.
like an absolute zombie, like crouched over in the middle of the street, like trousers pulled down, like not in any kind of way, shape or form with it at all. And it was so sad.
They weren't scary to us because they're not trying to attack you.
No, they're not aggressive. Like they're not.
So
and there's so many police officers.
Walking Dead. It was
Yeah, it was The
Exactly,
Walking Dead. It was genuinely The Walking Dead. And
the saddest thing though is that the pharmaceutical companies who I work for right now are the people that have made them corrupt, because they are the money makers.
yeah, and they should all like be taken to court.
And now
absolutely.
their babies, the people that are walking those streets, their babies are now being brought up with opioid addiction.
Yeah, with opioid, and
it's now a new
existential
crisis.
It's an existential crisis. Like, it's absolutely shocking. And I think that was the first time. And I thought to myself, you know, I've grown up in London. I've got the tube. I've met many a crazy on the tube. But you know, you're always very compassionate. It's never. I don't think London is a particularly harsh place in comparison to like when we were in Paris, and people are very. There's a lot of mentally ill people that are around. Yeah, it's like a real issue. They don't have a solid mental health system at all. And I'm not saying that London is great for that, but I think people are quite empathetic to the struggles of others in a lot of ways. Whereas in New York, I've never seen anything like
They
that.
have
Like,
on a big scale.
on a big classic
massive.
American, like do everything, the bigger the better. And it was honestly shocking. Like, we were shocked, like fully shocked. Like, these people were just like collapsed in the street, and there were police officers all around
who don't care.
who don't give a shit, basically.
Yeah,
It was really upsetting to see.
And just no one cares.
Really upsetting, and to not care. And you think these people don't have any kind of safety net.
Because they've got no. If you notice, we've got a lot of more homeless recently.
Yeah, I have noticed.
In King's Cross, Houston, doing this job, I noticed them and everything.
Also in Stratford, like you said, where you live, it's bad around the station. Obviously, I've only been there, but
Is it? I never noticed that. I don't catch the train.
right.
But when I did, I never used to notice it. But I know King's Cross and
King's Cross is bad.
and Houston is bad, and Shoreditch. Like, there's this lady who always stands there in the street, and she's asking for money, and then sometimes she's really out of it, and it's in the street.
I think it's the same in Clapham. There's like a huge. You can't. Obviously, on Clapham High Street, there's a lot of outside dining options. You can't sit there and have a meal without at least 4 or 5 different people coming past and asking you for money or asking you for a cigarette.
You know what you should do? You should just take the chicken. Here's a chicken. Give her a chicken leg.
One woman come up to us though and was like, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I murdered my husband. And do you remember this woman?
Yeah.
She's like, I murdered my husband, or was it attempted murder? And she was like, and I'm not going to lie to you that I did that, and that is what it is, but I just really need a home for tonight. So will you walk with me to the nearest hostel and pay for me to stay there? And it's a bit like,
you're not going to walk with someone who is
I want you to have a home for the night, but equally like it takes a big
The hostel's free. You don't need to.
This is the
thing. And I think this is like a very
that sounds like a trap to me.
Yeah,
exactly.
And especially if someone tells you they've been done for attempted or even murder of someone, you're not going to willingly go for a stroll with them.
And also,
dark alley.
That doesn't sound like someone in the right mind would throw someone that.
And also, vulnerability comes with for a lot of people, that comes with a lot of, they feel very sorry for someone. So it's a very easy game to play when someone's very vulnerable and very open and very whatever, because a lot of people would easily be like, oh, you're in a very vulnerable situation, so I'm going to give you money.
Yeah.
But
and I think that's exactly how we feel. It's even like when we tried to give that some guy asked us for a cigarette, and you guys gave him a cigarette, and then he was like, well, can I have the lighter? And you were like, okay, and then you gave him the lighter, and then he runs off with it, and it was just all very strange situation. I think.
This is in New York.
No, this is in Clapham.
This is literally 2 minutes away from our house.
2 minutes away from our house.
He's going to use the lighter for his heroin or whatever.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is. It's like very.
Yeah.
And I have like a really horrible experience recently where I just left the house at like 10:30 on a Wednesday to go and get a Diet Coke from Sainsbury's, And as I'm walking back, the same woman, the one who says about how she was done for attempted murder of her husband, because you get to know these people around your area, you know, like you see them all the time, you engage with them, whatever. And she like stopped me in the street and she said, if you don't give me your Diet Coke, I'm going to kill myself. And I was like, well, you could have my Diet Coke if you want. And she was screaming, if you don't give me your Diet Coke, I'm going to kill myself. And I was mortified in the street. Like,
what did you say?
What are you supposed to do? I was like,
I'd have said, wait a minute, don't kill yourself yet, I want to get it on the World Star! She'd have just gone, F off, you think you're funny, don't you? I'll get you tomorrow. What are you going to kill yourself?
No, but I think people are so, like, we're very, I don't know, we have quite
a bit
it does,
because that's how I would deal with it. Really?
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you're going to kill yourself, give me all your money first. Yeah? If I go for your pockets when you're dead, it's embarrassing.
I think we're maybe more scared than I think you've grown up with maybe a more like harsh upbringing.
No, but you know what it is. You got to put on the front.
Yeah.
Even if you're not like that, it's well, go and kill yourself. What are you telling me for then?
Yeah.
And she go, I'm not talking to you, and then find someone else to bother tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue I have a problem with.
That's a good outlet.
Do you remember that program recently that was like it was homeless people, and this guy kind of went out and he was homeless on the streets for 6 weeks with, I can't remember what his name was. Do you remember who it was? Who was he? It was on Channel 4, and I think it gave homeless people a really bad rap because it was like basically
it was showing
a lot of the people,
what they're not.
Yeah, like that they actually had homes and they did this as kind of like a side hobby.
Yeah, you get about £300 a day.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think you're kind of like, as someone who genuinely does want to do the right thing, you're not trying to be, you don't have a view really particularly either way. You feel very conflicted, or I feel very conflicted, because you watch something like that and you think, oh well, if I give money, is it going towards drugs, or is it going towards this, and you want to do the right thing. Or like you can buy a meal deal in Sainsbury's and then kind of hand it to someone and they're like, that's not what I want. I want money, kind of thing.
Which they do all the time.
The amount
of homeless people that are sat on the side of the street and I've tried to give them food and they will literally bat it away. Yeah. They'll be like, I've got too much food, I've got too much this, I actually don't want it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you want?
Can I point out something to you?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, the shelters are always available for them to go to. Even some of there's quite a few, I'm not sure if you've seen these tent places, and I'm not talking those ex-environmental people, you know, those not talking that lot.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of Eastern Europeans who work on building sites but live in tents.
Yeah.
And then they go to like food banks, have their food, get free food, and go to work.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? They may shower in the cubicles, that thing. Not all Eastern Europeans, I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. So what my point is here is that they don't have to be homeless if they don't want it.
No, of course.
And I think that's
so when you're giving money, you've got to look at that and think, well, you know, if it's a child, my thing is I help children.
Yeah.
I don't help adults. Flat.
Yeah.
And if I do ever help an adult, I always say, when this woman comes to me at the window, she goes, give me some money. I say, you give me some money. And she goes, all right. And she give me all her 50p. I say, all right, come here, have the fiver then. She goes, all right, thanks. And I give her 50p back because she's willing to give me, so I will give her.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But if you're not willing to give me, some people have come to, so give me some money then. They go, nah.
They're really aggressive.
I say, well, then forget you then.
Yeah.
It's
difficult.
It's so hard to read the situation. You don't want to just give money regardless. You want to know where it's going. Also, do you know what? I have no opinion on someone doing drugs if they want to. If I was
homeless, to be honest, who's to say I wouldn't be self-medicating with drugs? Yeah. Like, being homeless is a horrendous thing that in a country that is as rich as ours, with as many billionaires per capita as we have, should not be a real issue. It shouldn't be. Like, we should have an increased level of equality, but that's what is so difficult in our country, is that you
don't know
people like us want to do the right things. We're not incredibly privileged people. Like, we earn an honest salary and we go to work every day, but that doesn't, we want to do the right thing, but knowing what the right thing isn't always the easiest route, because you could give someone some money that could go on drugs. But is that really my problem if that's how you self-medicate, through not having a home and not being able to get a shower and not having a full meal and not having people that care about? Is that my place to judge that is how you can cope with that situation?
Yeah. It is if they come to you with their problems.
Yeah.
If you come to me with your problems, I'm going to tell you what I think. first thing I'm going to say, why haven't you got a job? Why are you homeless? If you ask you these questions, you get upset with me, then the conversation's finished.
I think it's so difficult because when I was in South Africa recently in February.
What part?
Cape Town.
Okay, I haven't been there. I've been Durban and Joburg.
Yeah, and I think it was like there's such an intense. I think it's a very interesting thing to observe. There's such an intense level of fear between obviously different races in South Africa, and the inequality is so blatant. It's very interesting to see. But before we went, it was like everyone was like, "Be so scared, lock your car, like lock your."
Yeah, you don't stop at traffic lights.
You don't stop at traffic lights, and like as soon as you get to your car, someone will say, "I'm going to protect your car this evening," and then when you go back to your car, you owe them 20 grand or whatever it is.
Yeah. But I'd rather pay that than have a because I've had things stolen off my hire car when I met. Yeah, because I didn't. I think
for sure. But then you go through these massive communities of black people who obviously over years of oppression and a million different reasons why that is the case, and you think of like, how do you expect people to act when you treat them this way for such a long time? I think there's so many layers of why things happen the way they happen, and it's more for us to educate ourselves on how we want to react to that thing.
The last question I want to ask you, ladies, I know we've come to the end of our journey, is what impact do you want to have on the world?
You want to go first, Sam?
I think I'm just a very happy person. I just feel like everyone should. It's very basic, but I just feel like everyone should be able to be. Oh, I don't know.
To be happy.
No. I think
I wish everyone could be as happy as I am. Just naturally, I am quite a naturally happy person, and I just think that's very privileged place to come from. But I just feel like that's a human right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of agree with you. Like renownedly knowing what your instincts are, and also being happy knowing who you are, and also not believing on the bullshit.
Okay.
I think mine is that I wish everyone would take a little bit more time in their day to understand that everyone goes through hard things and you have no idea what everyone is going through at any point in time, and we should all be a bit more sensitive and generous to each other,
understanding
and maybe the world would be a better place if that's what we did.
Okay, thanks a lot, ladies.
We hoped you liked that episode. Keeping in mind we never know who we're going to interview. We post twice a day, 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. GMT. Have you ever considered the future economies to invest in? Why not listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories? Considering Africa has the fastest growing economies and population on Earth, and has done for many years, it holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. We publish twice a week, Tuesday with a guest investor, and Fridays talking about investment, politics and history, providing a clear understanding for any potential investor.